How's it going, everybody? Thanks for watching another video. So I've had some people email me and ask, hey Kimo, what's going on with that telescope on the Big Island of Mauna Kea? Well, I'll tell you what I know. So here is the current situation as I'm recording this video right now. We have native Hawaiian protesters up on Mauna Kea as well as at the state capitol on Oahu basically saying, get this damn 30-meter telescope off our sacred land. And if there is such a thing as being kind of sacred land and extremely sacred land, this is what we're talking about. Mauna Kea is like the pinnacle of sacred lands for native Hawaiians. It represents the gateway to heaven. And if you guys have ever been up to Mauna Kea just to look at stars, you're gonna know what I'm talking about. You're above the clouds, like you're here, and the clouds are like here, and it feels like heaven is like right there. It really feels like you're kissing the sky. So what I'm gonna do first is talk a little bit about the telescope, a little bit about Mauna Kea, and then drill down into the three reasons or the three major issues that I think Native Hawaiians have with the building of the TMT. Like the name suggests, it's a 30-meter telescope. You want to take better pictures with higher resolution, you got to be able to collect more light. How do you do that? You make a bigger primary mirror. How much bigger? 30 meters, right? It's about 3 to 9 times larger than any telescope that we have right now. And as far as clarity goes, it's going to be 12 times clearer than the Hubble telescope that's up in space. Now, as far as telescopes go, this is going to be the world's latest and best technology being put into the TMT. You got 2 California universities, Canada, China, Japan, India, all pulling resources to make this happen. So it's the best technology that we have. And for $1.4 billion is a hell of a lot cheaper than another project that's going on in Hawaii. And this one's going to work. Let's talk about Mauna Kea. Alright, as I mentioned earlier, Mauna Kea is considered an extremely sacred place by native Hawaiians. But the question is, why do scientists want to put this telescope on this area if they know it's going to create problems? It's been a 5-year search to find a place to put the TMT. And honestly, right now, there are 13 different telescopes on Mauna Kea right now, of which the Keck is one of them. So if you guys follow science, you've probably heard of Keck. It's on Mauna Kea. But what makes Mauna Kea so great for these purposes? Alright, here's some reasons why astronomers love to put observatories on Mauna Kea. The first one being, and to me this is the major one, is its location in relation to sea level, right? It's 14,000 feet above sea level. So for everybody out there that messaged me like, hey, why are the protesters on Mauna Kea wearing jackets? It's because it's 14,000 feet above sea level. There's snow up there, guys. So when you're that high above sea level, you're that much closer to the sky. Now, the other two contributing factors as to why scientists love Mauna Kea is how much clear weather we have in Hawaii. The weather there is awesome. You have like 300 days of crystal clear skies that are optimal for viewing conditions. And when you look at the Big Island, there's such limited lighting there. Like the ambient light coming off the city is almost zero. When you compare it to places like Las Vegas, LA, or New York, when you step back, you can see that glow coming out of there. So like, let's say you went into a super dark room and you started looking through a pair of binoculars or a telescope. If somebody was to turn on a flashlight and get close enough to you, that ambient light would slowly start to blur what you could see through whatever you're looking through. And when you have a high-powered telescope, like what we're talking about here, I mean, just a smidge of ambient light that gets let in can ruin what you're looking at. So those are just some few reasons why scientists love Mauna Kea. Another great question somebody asked me is, hey Kimo, there's already observatories and telescopes up on Mauna Kea. Why are they making such a big deal about this one? For that, we gotta take a trip back in time. Alright, let's start with 1959, the year that Hawaii became a state. Sometime in that period, the United States gave back to Hawaii these things called ceded lands. Now, that topic, ceded lands, is a time bomb. I don't want to get too far into it. It's really complicated. I don't know much about it. But for this conversation, here's what you got to know about ceded lands. Back in 1893, when the overthrow of the Hawaiian monarchy happened, we basically were annexed into the United States illegally. So a lot of people don't know that, but Hawaii is the only state in the Union that had a monarchy. So we had our queen there. During the overthrow, they took the crown lands and a bunch of public lands and they were illegally annexed to the United States, and that's what we got back when we became a state in 1959. Alright, fast forward to 1968, the state of Hawaii is now managing these ceded lands for the benefit of Native Hawaiians and the public, so they enter into this lease program with the University of Hawaii on top of Mauna Kea for around 11,000 acres of property for $1 a year. Now here's where things get a little bit weird. Now I can kind of understand and don't really have a big problem with the University of Hawaii paying $1 for their lease up there, right? They're an educational facility, they're state run. I get it. The problem I have is when they took that dollar lease and they extended it to the people that they're leasing it to, right? They're subleasing it to those 13 other telescopes and they're only paying $1 a year. Now, for those that don't know, we have a organization called the Office of Hawaiian Affairs that gets 20% of the revenue from the rent, and now they're not getting anything. And I don't even know if those telescopes are generating any type of revenue that's benefiting the Hawaiian people. So that's the first thing I have is those 13 telescopes, we're only paying $1 for the rent. You got to remember one other thing too, guys. Some of these telescopes have been up there so long that when they were built, there was no such things as environmental impact surveys or studies. They just built things and were crushing on things. Who cared back then? So when they actually did do a study, they found out that Mauna Kea was so adversely affected that it affected historical, archaeological, geological, any illogical you can think of was harmed during the formation of those 13 telescopes. So now when you back it up, right, to the general public, when they know about this dollar lease, it seems like you have these freeloading scientists up there not getting any revenue back to OHA, the native Hawaiian, or even the state of Hawaii. Combining that with the harming of a sacred temple, it's enough to make anybody mad, even if you're not native Hawaiian. Alright, so let's get into the three major reasons I think native Hawaiians have an issue with that telescope being up there. The first one being the topic of ceded land. So in their lawsuit, there was an issue brought up of that property never belonged to the state of Hawaii. Like the state of Hawaii doesn't exist. It's property of the Kingdom of Hawaii. So the Hawaii Supreme Court had a look at it, and it's in the actual opinion on there. They say, hey, look, the Supreme Court upheld that Hawaii and Texas were legally annexed into the United States, meaning that we are governed by the ruling from the Supreme Court from that case. So the argument of Kingdom of Hawaii is irrelevant, and they threw that out. So from a Hawaiian activist standpoint, that infuriates you because you think that that property is yours and you didn't have a say in what goes on there. So that first argument is that property never belonged to the state of Hawaii. It belongs to the Kingdom of Hawaii. Now the second reason is environmental. I just kind of briefly talked about the damage that those 13 smaller scopes did and its negative effect on Mauna Kea. Imagine a 30-meter scope being plopped down on there, right? As a native Hawaiian, you're looking at the damage that those smaller scopes did and you're like, what is going on? You're going to put a bigger scope on there? Look at how much damage the smaller ones did. This bigger one's going to do more damage. So here is how the Hawaii Supreme Court decided to approach this issue. Instead of looking at Mauna Kea as a whole and how the TMT telescope would affect it as a whole, they just looked at the piece of property or the acreage that it would occupy. So they looked at it, they didn't find any historical or ancestral burial grounds or structures that were built way back in ancient Hawaii, and their EIS study showed that, hey, this is going to have a very low impact on Mauna Kea. Now, of course, on the native Hawaiian side, it was a different story. Now, the last issue, and to me the most serious, is the desecration of sacred land. If you're a native Hawaiian and you believe on the inside that Mauna Kea is the pinnacle of sacred lands, then you're 100% all in. There is no amount of money that anybody can throw at you to compromise, get this damn telescope off this land. It's sacred. It's just like burning an American flag. It's protected by the U.S. Constitution. However, the Hawaii Supreme Court, again, didn't view Mauna Kea as a total property. They didn't view it broadly. They went more narrow and just looked at the acreage that the TMT property was going to be on. And they said, look, we're not desecrating anything. There's no ancient Hawaiian burial grounds here. There's no structures. We're not desecrating anything. So when you have a court system that views things narrowly versus broadly, these things can happen. Now hang on, I didn't want you guys thinking there were no positives that came out of this TMT project, because there's a few. The first major one being is they've agreed to pay rent. That's right, $1 million a year, which is far away from that $1 the other guys are paying. They've also agreed to give $1 million to the education of native Hawaiians and create a pipeline for those kids to come up and work in the observatory. And out of the 400 jobs that are going to be created from the construction of the TMT, 140 of them are guaranteed to be permanent to local residents. They've also agreed to take down 3 of the existing telescopes to get the 1. And I think the overall goal is to get it down to 6 total on Mauna Kea. They've also agreed to a 50-year lease, which at the end, no more telescopes. So that's good news, right? You got them taking down telescopes, trying to get it back to where it was before, and agreeing after 50 years, no more. Great compromise. And I get it, guys. Some of you are like, no compromise. This is sacred land. Get the hell out of here. Environmental people are like, you're screwing it up. Beat it. And Hawaiian activists are like, nope, not your land anyway. Get out of here. I understand both sides. Now, me personally, I kind of like having the idea of having that telescope up there, because what if they flip that thing on and they can see that giant asteroid that's going to smack into us, but they caught it in time, or maybe they can find another planet that's inhabited. I don't know. I'm conflicted both ways. I don't like the idea of having sacred land desecrated. Then again, I'm also on the side where I'm always looking to the future, and I like the idea of having something that high tech up there and finding out more about the universe. Well, let me know what you guys think. Guys, that's the ending of the video. Hope you enjoyed it. If you liked it, please give me the thumbs up. If you haven't subscribed to Chemo365, please do. And remember, I'll catch you guys later.